Tammi Mac. Tammi Mac. Oh, what show was that? It's the Tammi Mac Show on Fox Soul. Tammi Mac, hey, Tammi Mac, yeah, who that? Tammi Mac, Tammi Mac, hey, so you know it's Tammi Mac, hey, Tammi Mac.
Welcome to the Tammi Mac Late Show on Fox Soul. I'm Tammi Mac. Hi, everybody. So athletes have to sacrifice so much to excel at their sport. It takes years to build the physical and mental prowess necessary to compete at a high level. And for student athletes, it's important for them to balance that dedication to their sport with a commitment in the classroom. But what's often overlooked is the commitment and dedication that's required by the parents of those athletes that allow them space and support they need to grow. The business of being Black tonight is the parents of athletes on the Tammi Mac Late Show. Please welcome management analyst at the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development and the mother of Emil Ekiyor, national champion offensive lineman for the Alabama Crimson Roll Tide, Andrea Nicole Ekiyor. Hi, Andrea.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Licensed insurance agent at Kemper Corporation and mother of 4. Yvette Stepp is here. Hi, Yvette.
I'm doing well. Hi.
Administrative accounting assistant and the mother of 3 athletes of different ages. Tamala Colquitt. Hi, Tamala.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here tonight. And medical administration professional and the mother of a scholarship volleyball athlete at Winston-Salem State University. Tanya Gray is here, who's also here tonight with her husband, Ray Gray. What's up, Tanya and Ray?
Hey. How you guys doing?
I'm going to start with our traditional question on the Tammi Mac Late Show, and that is why. Why should Black people care about the mothers of Black athletes? And I'll start with Ray.
Hey. It's very important, in my opinion, to make certain that these female athletes have their moms in their lives. I mean, my wife, Tanya, she's just an amazing support where I tend to be a little too aggressive at times. She tends to kind of just give that softening up and kind of chill me out. And my daughter is better able to hear. So I can imagine if she wasn't around, what that would look like with me being so passionate, so intense, and the presentation and the way how I deliver the messages, what my daughter would feel like and how she would receive that. Would she reject the sport altogether? I don't know. So Tanya does an amazing job of stepping in and helping me to step back and having her and my daughter Raven have that great relationship. So it's very important in my opinion.
You know, it's funny you say that because I remember when Jaden Smith, Will and Jada Pinkett's son, Jaden, was filming the movie The Karate Kid. And Jada talked about the difference in how she handled Jaden and how Will handled Jaden. And Will handled Jaden so harshly that Jaden just wanted to quit and give up. And Jada, on the other hand, was like, if you want to stop today, stop. You don't have to do it. So there's definitely a difference between the way fathers father their children and mothers mother their children. I don't think we can go without giving that acknowledgement. And thank you for making it crystal clear to us out here who maybe aren't parents. Okay, Tanya, why? Why should Black people care about mothers of athletes?
Hey, well, to me, mothers are like the backbone, the facilitator, so to speak, and the organizer, so to speak. So I think it's important because it teaches tools to the girls or the athlete. It doesn't have to be just girls, but just to the athlete, student athlete.
Right. Tamala, how do you feel? Why should Black people care?
I'm probably the opposite of the Grays. I'm usually the aggressor. I'm usually the biggest critic. I'm the toughest. I'm usually harder. I criticize more. I'm usually always on my athlete. My husband is usually the one that says, hey, back up a little bit. You may be a little too tough. I think mothers are important, just as they said before, is because we do the organizing. We make sure everything is on schedule, graduation, classes. We just check all of the little boxes.
Yeah. It's the
We're
attention
kind
to
of like the
detail.
emotional support, and we always encourage them, even when they don't want to go forth. We're always there to kind of do that little extra mothering that the dads don't do.
It's that attention to detail that mothers have.
Definitely.
I'm wondering what kind of mother-in-law you gonna be though, Tamala. You talking about you be criticizing all the time. Oh, I'm a little nervous.
I'm from Alabama, so she's gonna have to be able to cook.
Look, you already got a criteria. Let's go to my mom's in the zone. Andrea, why should Black people care?
I'm like you, is it Tamala? Did I say it right? Yeah, I'm like you. I'm different. As a former student athlete, I want to say we do both. I feel like I do the administrative and I do the X's and O's. So I'm a one-stop shop. But it's important because that's just who we are. And I think when we can build well-rounded young people, they just happen to play sports. You know what I mean? So I think that's what moms bring to that. We are making sure that our young people are successful in life as well as in athletics. So that's why moms, I think.
Yvette, which way do you roll here? Why should Black people, why should I care about you and your child who want to play sports? Why?
And for me, that's an easy answer because no one is going to advocate like a mother would advocate for her baby. No one is going to stand in that gap when she sees something wrong, if a coach is not doing right. And you know, our kids didn't just land at these colleges for no reason. They put all this work in years before you even knew that they were elite athletes. They put that work in. And moms, and you know, I say often to coaches, you're not just recruiting that student athlete, you're recruiting that whole family, that whole village. And no one, and why Black America needs to care about a mom, because no one is going to advocate for that student athlete, male or female, like a mother would. It's innately who we are. It comes organic for us. And you don't have to tell us to speak up. If we see you mistreating our baby, that mama bear is going to come out and we're going to speak up. And so I think that's why we have to care, because without us doing all those things, and I always say it's the big things, you know, putting the ball in the hand is one thing, but waking up, making sure they having those physicals, they're showing up on time. Those are the things that make that well-rounded individual, and no one can advocate, support, and nurture an athlete like a mother.
Nobody's gonna slice those orange slices like a mother.
That's it. And wash those dirty, you know, uniforms like a mother, you know.
But it's so much more than
That was like, oh.
Yeah, but it's so much more than that. I know that we do the administrative and the oranges, you know, jokingly, but we are building young people, you know what I mean, for prepare for society. And I always like to say when Yvette and I discuss this, these are transferable skills. They play sports, but being on time, how to be a teammate, how to work with others. Those are all those things that you learn in sports that are transferred into the real world. So as a mom, we're preparing young people. And yes, we're talking about sports, but I don't want to get caught up in that, because our children are more than an athlete. You know, they bring so much more to the table. And as moms, we are nurturing that and making sure that, you know, we build up young women and young men that are prepared to navigate this world that we're in. You know, it's crazy.
I hear you when you say I hear you when you say they're much more than athletes. So I want to ask this question now, because this comes up all the time on my show from me. I want to know, what was it that propelled you to encourage your child or children to enter into the sports world? Because I always feel like Black parents in particularly encourage their children to go into sports, but not necessarily to become teachers or doctors or engineers or things that are outside the realm of sports or entertainment. This seems to be the land that Black folk live in. So I want to know, what was your decision and your thought process behind having a child become an athlete versus something else? And anyone can answer that question.
I know for me, just growing up, that's all I knew. My mom and, you know, dad played sports. So it was just a part of just growing up. So what I did different was I just exposed my son to different things. I exposed him to arts, music, and, you know, of course, his parents played sports, so he's going to naturally navigate towards that. But for my husband, he played in NFL, but he didn't want his son to play football because he knew that, you know, the impact that it had on his body. He wanted my son to be a businessman. So just to answer your question specifically, we didn't raise our son to be an athlete or push him towards that. We just exposed him to different things. And like my husband didn't want him to play football, but that's just what he wanted to do. So of course we're going to support him that. But yeah, but our kids are more than student athletes. And it may seem like that, but that's not the case always. And I know for me and my household, we didn't push our son to play sports.
Tamala, what about you? Why did
getting a quality education has always been the top priority. And using athletics as a springboard was always our motto. If you can get there and come out debt-free with a solid education from a top-of-the-line university, hey, utilize the sports. Besides the fact that he grew more than the average, he's almost so that kind of spoke for itself. But the educational part of it was really the thing that we emphasized more so than the athletics. It just so happened that he excelled at the athletics. But we've always said that regardless of if you ever bounce the ball again, obtaining a degree is what is the most important thing.
That's it.
Same here. Raven couldn't help, but to follow her dad, go to his coaching lessons, and both of our daughters picked it up. So, but education was definitely important from the very beginning. So.
Yvette, what about you?
I would agree with a little bit of what everyone has said tonight. Is for our household, all of our kids, we had kids my daughter was the first chair in band, we had Marquise playing chess, they were exposed to so many other things. And quite naturally, his father was a collegiate athlete. And so you just expose them to, a little bit of everything. Marquise was in band. he did a little bit of everything. And we let him choose. We didn't say, hey, you have to play sports because dad played sports. We let him choose. And he did several sports. He did several other extracurricular activities. And it just so happened, like some of the other panelists have said, that's what he chose to do, And my oldest daughter, she chose not to do that. She went music, And so 3 of the 4 kids decided to go sports, and we allowed them to do that. So I think it's a little bit, the misperception in with the Black community is people think that's what we push our children to do, and that's not the real answer. The real answer is that we give them the opportunity to choose. We're not raising, puppets here. We're raising young men and women, and we're allowing them to have the choice as to what they want to do. And if sports is what they choose, guess what we're going to do as a mom does? We're going to fall behind, and we're going to support them to be the best that they can be.
Excellent. Fun fact here. I was also in the band. I didn't play an instrument. My voice was my instrument. I was the band announcer, and no one is more important than the band announcer, than the one that brings them onto the field, baby, and gives them those interludes in between song transitions. That was me. Here's another fun fact. We're going to take a commercial break and come right back on the Tammi Mack Late Show on Fox Soul. Welcome back to the Tammi Mack Late Show on Fox Soul. Tonight, the business of being Black are parents of athletes. Please welcome management analyst at the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development and the mother of Emil Ekiyor, national champion offensive lineman for the Alabama Crimson Tide, Andrea Nicole Ekiyor, licensed insurance agent at Kemper Corporation and mother of 4, Yvette Stepp, administrative accounting assistant and the mother of 3 athletes of different ages, Tamala Colquitt. Oh, that means you busy. That means you don't have time for nothing. I mean, nothing.
Absolute from age 21 to age 8, nothing.
You can't even go to the bathroom. Oh my goodness, Tamala. And medical administration professional and the mother of a scholarship volleyball athlete at Winston-Salem State University, Tanya Gray, who's here tonight with her hubby, Ray Gray. Hey, Ray. Hey, Tanya. Yeah. I mean, Tamala, honestly, all them one thing about parents in sports that I know for sure, especially track is the worst. You got to be at every game. You got to drive them to the practice. You got to pick them up from the practice. You got to get them ready for tournaments and all of that kind of stuff. Am I in the right lane here?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So Tamala, how do you balance that with 3 children in sports?
Well, it worked out really well this past year because I had 2 in North Carolina. So
because we wasn't nobody playing nothing last year, Tamala. We was in a pandemic.
Well, no, we played. We played. We just had to be like really only a few people there, but we actually got to attend the games.
Okay.
So it worked out a little bit. Now the 8-year-old is a baseball player, which is totally out of the ordinary. But it takes a lot of planning, a lot of scheduling, and a large village. I have an impressive village, friends and family everywhere. When I can't be at one place, somebody shows up. So it takes a lot of work.
Yeah. So Andrea, listen, my family is huge on sports. I'm from Texas. Texas is a huge sports.
Yes.
We love our sports in Texas, right? And so whenever we have somebody, cousins or whatever, playing ball, my aunt has a whole pressing machine where she makes everybody's shirt. You know, Jason's cousin, Jason's sister, number 24's niece, number 24's niece to be for the pregnant, in the family. Like, do you do all of that? Do y'all go in?
You must have saw my sister because she has masks. Auntie's cousin, mama. Yeah, so yeah, and we roll deep at the game. So and so we're in Indiana, so we go to every game, every Alabama game, home game and away game, and we roll deep. So it's just what we do. I mean,
they're like, here come them damn act of yours.
They don't say that. They'll be like, here come the E's, because they don't know how to pronounce our last name.
What about you, Yvette?
You know what? We go to everywhere. I'm the Jersey queen. You know, my son just recently transferred from the University of Southern California to Nebraska. And, you know, everyone in the family has jerseys. Grandma, grandpa, the best friend, the girlfriend's family. We all, and like she said, the village. You know, we have the jerseys, we have the bags. I mean, anything to support the kids. It's easy for them to look up in the stands and they can see a sea of jerseys of number 30s, and they know that whole village is out there supporting. And so that's what we do, you know, as a sports parent. And that's not just with football. I think that is for any parent of a student athlete. You want them to know that they're supported, you know, at the end of the day. And so that's what we do. That's how we roll.
Yeah. I want to stay with you here for a minute, Yvette, because you mentioned your son transferring from USC to Nebraska. Now, I don't know anything about sports, but I do know USC is a pretty big school with a huge athletic program. Mm-hmm. So what was the deal there? Like, why would anyone leave USC to go to Nebraska?
And you know, it's an easy answer. When you believe in yourself more than anyone else, you have to make the moves that you have to make. You know, a lot of times kids get this bad reputation for transferring or making a move or decision that they feel is best for their future. We see coaches do it. The coaching staff will up and leave a whole program. They're not thinking about those college students that they recruited to that program. If they feel that the dollar, that next zero in that bank account is bigger and it's going to benefit their family, they don't think twice about all the kids they recruited. They make a move. And we have to start advocating for our student athletes to do the same. Is that at the end of the day, you're your biggest advocate. And if you don't stand up for yourself when you feel that you're undervalued, underappreciated, you have to make the moves that's best for your future, you know, and that was the decision. He was close. We were in a global pandemic. Nebraska is closer to home than USC. We can drive. I don't ever try to drive, but if we need to, we can drive there. We couldn't drive to Southern California from Indiana. It's a, 2-3 day drive, if no family out there, and so at the end of the day, he made the best decision for himself. He's, near graduation. And so just want to be an advocate for student athletes and parents to support your student to do what they feel is best to them, because you better believe the coaching staffs are going to do what's best for their families.
Tanya and Ray, I have to talk to you about your daughter playing basketball and the scholarship that she received to Winston-Salem State University. I graduated from Bennett College in Greensboro, North Carolina, which is 15, 20 minutes from Winston-Salem, right up the road. Winston-Salem is an HBCU, just like Bennett College is. And I know that your daughter had plenty of options. Why this option? Winston-Salem is not, it's not a popular school. It's not a school that huge, that people even know is an HBCU. What was the choice behind this particular college?
Well, she plays volleyball. I apologize if we had it wrong, but she's a volleyball player at Winston-Salem State. And
I thought I said volleyball. My mistake if I said something different.
You said basketball. It's all good.
Oh, my mistake.
It's all good. Yes. So for her, it was fit. I mean, given the climate of what we're in, and Ray is very woke. Can we say that? So she really wanted to just stay with her people. She wanted to really go to a university that felt like would support her, like her parents do. And she just made the decision that was best for her. Like many of the panelists said, she could have declared academic or athletic. She had a 4.2 GPA and she could have gone on any track at any school, but she and God had a conversation and Winston-Salem won.
Now, it's my understanding, and I'm not sure if this is something that you all are willing to talk about tonight, but it's my understanding that God had a huge deal to do with her choice, if I'm not mistaken. Do you want to talk about that?
Yes, so we are Seventh-day Adventists, and we worship on Saturday, which is the Sabbath, the seventh day. And many of the schools, once they found out that she was unable to play during the Sabbath hours, which is Friday sunset to Saturday sunset, a lot of the other schools, regardless of the fact that she was a highest top level athlete, they pulled back. And we understood, for them to pay so much money into an athlete that can only play maybe 70 to 80% of the games. We definitely respected that decision. But yes, her faith, not ours, but her faith and her relationship with God was what ultimately made the decision for Winston-Salem State.
And also,
I'm detecting something that's very that you parents are having in common, and that's number one, instilling this huge belief in your kids in themselves. Like, I mean, Yvette just talked about her son moving from USC to Nebraska, and she said, you have to believe in yourself. And then your daughter decides, I'm going to play volleyball at a school where I'll get less time playing, but I believe not only in me, but in my God. And so I'm going to choose what's best for me. I just think that's fascinating, that parents will instill that into their children, as opposed to, but you got to do this to make it here, to get there. Everybody's goal today is about money. It's about things. It's about everything but what matters the most.
Right. We were really, really proud of her because of the level of schools, the Ivy Leagues, the top tier schools that were really seeking heavy after her. And she stepped back. And we just couldn't be prouder of Raven, and we're just humbled.
Tanya, you wanted to say something. I'm sorry I cut you off there.
Oh, no, it's no problem. Let's see if I remember. And also, like, part of what Yvette said about them making their choice between schools, some schools said, you know what, okay, we'll work with you with the Saturday thing. But she felt like they were going to try to, persuade her or try to, persuade her to do other things during the season. So she had to feel how these coaches and how these programs were. So, but she made a decision where she felt most comfortable.
Yeah, the maturity of the thought process is amazing to me. I can't even make decisions like that for myself today, and I'm in my 40s. So I have no idea how you got that instilled into your children. It blows my mind. But I'm gonna blow your mind right now with a commercial break. We'll be right back on the Tammi Mac Late Show on Fox Soul. Welcome back to the Tammi Mac Late Show on Fox Soul. I'm Tammi Mac. Listen, I'm about to get real upset with Tanya and Ray here in a minute, because they're going to tell us off air during the commercial break I knew, but never mind. I knew they gonna tell everybody else off air that Raven, their daughter, got a scholarship to Duke, and she turned that down. But I'm gonna let people know your daughter got a scholarship to Duke. It was like, I don't think so. I don't think so.
She was just getting recruited by.
Yeah, just offers from many different.
Yeah. So.
But recruit, it sounds to me, listen, it sounds to me like a scholarship when they recruiting you. If you recruiting me, you gonna give me some money to go. That's what I know. Y'all so humble over there. I can't with you humble grays over there.
You on their radar. They don't just send you stuff if you know if you're not, on their list.
Right, exactly. And you did mention she had like a 4.2 GPA. So some money was coming her way. Y'all know that. Definitely. But we were talking about the maturity of Raven, and you said she's 17 years old. And we were talking about being able to make those decisions, because it is, we laugh about it, but it really is a difficult decision to see a recruitment letter from Duke University and then you choose something else that you believe in your heart benefits you best in whatever capacity you feel is going to lead you in the right direction in your life. And I know, Yvette, you were talking about how you tell your son what he should look out for.
Right.
So share that with us.
Well, the conversation I have with him is that when our kids reach a certain level in the sports, arena, people try to, latch on, and you have to teach your child. And that's where the platform that we have created at Moms in the Zone, you have to teach them to know the difference between the people that are trying to latch on because they see your potential, and those people who really see the person that you are and the character of young man or woman that you are. And so those people that are just wanting to be involved with you because they see the future potential of where you may land, which may be the National Football League or the MLB or the NBA or whatever it may be, whatever chosen sport that your student athlete plays, we have to educate them, because not everyone is a friend. Not everyone is a friend. Not everyone has their best interest in mind. And so we have to, teach them that some people are just latching on because they see the potential and who you may become. They don't care about you as a person. And it's sad that we have to have those discussions, but we really do.
Tamala, I see you like nodding in agreement. So what is that about?
A lot of people get attached to the athlete in the uniform. Mm-hmm. I used to always tell my son, when you take that UNC off, a lot of people don't know Garrison Brooks.
That's it.
And then when you decide to speak out, especially with the Black Lives Matter, they had a Confederate monument that was removed, and he was very vocal and had an impact in dealing with it on campus. So a lot of people don't want to know that person. They only want to know the athlete that they cheer for that involves their favorite team. So I always tell them, you have to be careful of those that only want to see you shoot the basketball or see you wear the powder blue because you were Garrison Brooks, the young man first. Mm-hmm. A lot of people can't separate that. They don't want you to be that young man, because when you're that young man, you have your own opinion, you have your own values, you have your own way of thinking, which may very much different. It may be very different from some of the views that some of the fans have. And if you're on social media, you get the raw, unadulterated fans at their worst. I often tell them, sometimes you have to stay away from the social media, because some of the things that the fans say, they forget that they're children. They're somebody's children. They're somebody's brothers. They're somebody's nephews or grandsons. Things that the fans say, I said, you have to kind of let it roll off your back. Because sometimes it makes mamas want to take your earrings off, because you looking at it, it's talking about my kid. So I always tell them, don't ever get too high and don't ever let the fans get you too low, because you still have to uphold your values and your character and integrity.
You bring up a very good point when you talk about social media. I mean, we're just looking at about, 5 good solid years of how influential these social media platforms are. So how do you as parents deal with that? Because you're right, you all have children who are in prime positions in sports, in college. And that's got to be a difficult thing. Like you said, you make you want to take your earrings off. How do you deal with that when it's so public? And it's not like when Michael Jordan was playing. If he had a bad game, he just went home and maybe some jeers out of the stand. But he wasn't getting continuous jeers on social media, just scrolling and everybody's dissing him and talking bad about him when he's had a bad day on the court. So how do you as parents deal with that? You want to take this one, Andrea?
Yeah, I think it speaks to the mental health aspect of sports. And like Tamara was saying, these are young people. But if you don't view them as young people and as entertainment, then you feel like you can say anything to them. But again, it's very hard as a parent. And I know Yvette and I've cried at times just from some of the postings and things that are said about my son. So it is very difficult, but again, we have to make sure that our young people know who they are.
Yes, sir.
Because if you know who you are as a person, then it's easier for you to navigate that. But again, the mental health aspect of sports is very challenging because you build someone up and you tear them down just that easy. So again, mental health is very important in sports. So I just want to make sure parents out there are in tune with their young people and, some of those the things that they may see as far as them being down on themselves. Be cautious and be, knowledgeable about that and make sure that you are supporting them from a mental health aspect. Yes, it's sports, yes, the physical aspect, but the mental is just as important as the physical part of them.
It's funny you mentioned mental health, Andrea, because I am 1000% all about that. I am a mental health counselor for children between the ages of 4 and 20. And what I've done is created a space called the Greyhounds, where we instill mindfulness, we instill self-esteem, we instill being aware of who you are, whose you are, and your purpose, which is far greater than when you walk off the field. We teach life lessons, not volleyball skills. You know what I'm saying? So everything that we instill in these young, wonderful kings and queens that we're producing for the future, we're making certain that these life lessons are transferable on and off the court. And we're just helping these athletes to understand that once you're done, you may not go pro. And once pro is over, you still have to live. So if you can live with yourself and understand your mental state and where you are and understand how the two of them can meet and you can function within who you are, then that means nothing. So I'm so really proud that you mentioned that because it's near and dear to my heart.
Yes, absolutely.
Excellent. Tamala, you brought up something else, and I definitely want to talk to Andrea about this. Listen, your son and Tamala's son, I mean, they go to, I don't know, can I say they go to some of the whitest schools that exist? I mean, you're talking about Chapel Hill and the University of Alabama. Come on now. But I bring that up to say, I mean, Tamala, you just told us about how vocal your son has been in the Black Lives Matter movement to the point to where they've had Confederate statues taken down. Where does your son play? How does this play out in his life at the University of Alabama?
I don't know if we get it. I'll take that. I know she.
Go ahead.
Okay. God rest my mom. So she actually did not want my son to go to Alabama because my mother was from El Dorado, Arkansas, was from El Dorado, Arkansas. And just from her experiences growing up, I mean, she was like, no, I don't want my grandson in that space, like you were saying, just the history of the South. But gratefully, Coach Saban, they did a march, and it may seem minimal to some people, but doing that in Alabama, I think it means something. I'm just proud of the coaching staff there to realize that you have all these Black men on your team. You can't allow that not to be the forefront or speak to that or bring that up and allow them to voice how that impacts them as young Black men. So yes, it was challenging. Yes, my mom didn't want him to go there, but he is weathering that. But we cannot hide our student athletes from the racist society that we live in. They have to just, adjust to it, unfortunately, the times that we live in. But for me, again, and like Mr. Gray was saying, just building my son up as a young Black man so he knows who he is, and keep him prayed up and covered by the blood of Jesus is all I can say. I'm sorry, Tammi, go ahead. You want to make some?
Being from Alabama, I understand. I had no idea that it would go on to North Carolina. It's a whole different can of worms up there. But I told them one thing about speaking up is know what you're speaking up and out about.
That's it.
Church, know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And stand on what it is that you believe, and don't back down, and don't ever be scared to repeat yourself. But you know whose you are, you don't have a problem speaking up and speaking out.
Right.
What you play.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah. I'm sorry you threw me out, because when you said, I mean, I just love everything that you all are saying tonight, and I can see why your kids are in such great positions in life right now. It just amazes me how this world, and particularly America, thinks how they think about the Black community's parenting skills, and how they think about how Black people raise their children. I just don't think and believe that they talk to and touch as many Black people as they should. They need to know us a little more to know that if it's one thing we're going to do, is we're going to teach our children manners. We're going to teach our children courage. We're going to teach our children to be educated. This is nothing that's new and outside of the norm for Black people. And so I'm just so happy and proud to have you all on the show today to talk about it in the context of athletes. Because, you know, the whole saying about athletes is, well, you know, they're playing ball, so they must be stupid or they must be dumb. And this is all that they can do. And I'm sure you all have had to deal with that in certain ways. Am I right or wrong about that?
Yeah, you're totally right. I mean, that perception that if you're an athlete, you can't be intelligent, you know? And at the end of the day, and I tell all parents, is that no one is showing up in those classrooms doing that homework. Those kids are showing up day in and day out, academically and athletically, and doing the work both in the classroom and on the field. And their graduation rates among African-American males specifically has went up over the years. And I say that to us knowing more. Knowledge is definitely power. Is kids are graduating at a higher rate than ever before because they understand the game. You have to understand the game is that you're playing a game within the game. And the game is they're going to use you and your body's going to get banged up. So you better make sure you're doing what you need to do in the classroom so that you have that degree after that career is over, because you're going to need it. Our kids are not afforded some of the same things that other children are. And so now we have the knowledge, we have the power to be able to say to them, hey, the first goal is that college degree. Whatever comes after that, great, we'll take it and we're blessed for it. But the number one goal is the college degree. It changes the whole game.
My number one goal right now is a commercial break. That's going to change it. We'll come right back on the Tammi Mack Late Show on Fox Soul. Welcome back to the Tammi Mack Late Show on Fox Soul. Andrea, you were a student athlete and your husband played in the NFL. So how did your experience as a student athlete affect the way you handle your son's athletic career and your husband?
I know Tamla spoke to this earlier, how we're like the harsh critics. And I spoke to this, I was talking to Yvette about this earlier on Moms in the Zone. I felt like it's therapeutic for me because I'm able to talk to other student athletes, and we all have that same mindset. We're always critiquing, yeah, you got 20 points, but you could have got 30 points if you had done this. And I had to be mindful of that because I was in that space, and I had to realize that I'm first building up a Black man, and I don't want me critiquing the sports to take away from who he is as a person. But again, it's different, and it doesn't sound real because we didn't push sports, even though our household was, full of sports. My husband went to the highest level. We wanted our son to make that decision. Again, just because you are a Black person and you have this height or athletic, ability doesn't mean that we're pushing our kids to do that. We're pushing our kids to be educated, spiritual beings, and they just happen to play sports. So for us in our household, it's all about allowing my son to make those choices, because I can't make those choices for him because I'm doing him a disservice, because when he goes out here in the real world, he needs to be able to make those decisions for himself, because I'm not going to always be there. So again, just making sure that I build him up as a Black man first, and just knowing that he does have that ability to play sports, but that's not who you are.
Tanya and Ray, you also played sports. How did that affect how Raven went into athletes? Yeah.
To me, it just felt just natural. It was no force. It was like, even when we were dating, we would play racquetball. I played flag football a little bit in college, so he was my coach. So sports was always a thing.
Yeah, she got a lot of playing time.
Anyhow,
still getting it.
It was natural, and him being a coach, taking Raven to lessons. When he played church basketball, I used to be in the car seat just watching them go, back and forth. So it just felt natural. And then her sister followed right behind her. So it feels like it's innate in our household.
Yeah. So I mean, it was really easy. I mean, Raven was 7, Jordan was 3, and they just stayed in that entire pattern. And it just really works because Raven was teaching Jordan while Jordan was competing. So it was just like, wow, look at them evolve and look at them grow to now 2 beautiful queens at 6 feet and 6'1". It's just amazing to see them, how they created their own unique path that I didn't have to say, hey, you're going to play this position, you're going to play this position. They just evolved into themselves, and it's amazing.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. It's so beautiful.
Tammi, I had a question for Tamala. Tamala, are you still in that competitive mode, or have you kind of evolved?
No, I'm always.
Tamala, like, no, I can't. Look, sorry, I'm not trying to work on myself.
Somebody said something about Duke, and it was like, you said Roll Tide, and the competitive juices came out of nowhere. Did you say Roll Tide? So no, it's always there. Everything. Yeah, it never stops. Basketball, football, baseball, it never stops. And I didn't even play anything. So
it's all right.
I can imagine how saying Duke and Roll Tide hurt your feelings.
It's just like, whoa, both of them.
She didn't go. So it worked.
That's hilarious. And then don't you also have a son at North Carolina A&T?
I do.
So you have a son who chose an HBCU. What made that choice?
He had never had the experience. He had never, in fact, he never wanted to visit an HBCU. And I said, well, just give it a try. Just go see the atmosphere. And surprisingly, he liked it. He came from a predominantly white high school here in Alabama. Of course, his brother, I went to a PWI at Auburn, and so he had never had the experience. Everything that started to go on in the world, he wanted to be around people that look like him, walk like him, talk like him. So when the opportunity presented itself, A&T was an obvious choice. And it is one of the premier HBCUs in the country. And I don't think I don't think he has ever doubted himself, being an Aggie.
Let me tell you, if he went to visit A&T during homecoming, yeah, he wasn't never gonna choose no other school.
Nothing.
Not even Howard.
When I heard about G-Ho, I was like, G-Ho, what? And the way that they talk about this year's upcoming G-Ho, I can only imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something else. I'll tell you. I have had my experience. North Carolina A&T.
That's another show. Another show.
That's
whole
my
nother
bad.
show.
My bad, Ray. That's another show. But I do want to talk to you, Ray, since you bring up Howard. Since you bring up Howard, and your daughter chose Winston-Salem State University. How did that make? Because you both went to Howard, didn't you?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So how did that make you feel that she didn't choose your alma mater?
Well, I mean, for me, it was cool. I mean, I went to FAMU, I went to Howard, and I went to Oakwood University. So I went to 3 major HBCUs. Howard was just the last stomping ground, and we're from New York, so it was close to home, the closest of all of them. So I was just like, wow, she did go to Howard. You know, we're here in North Carolina. That's a hop, skip, and a jump. 4 hours from New York, from home, grandma, you know, grandpa, whatever, you know. So we was just like, yo, that would be great. But again, she had a conversation with God, because every move she makes, she seeks the master. You see what I'm saying? So when she went on her knees and she had a conversation and she was like, Dad, you know, Howard is great. She went on a visit and everything, loved it. And that's where she was going. But then the Lord just said, you know what, this is where I want you to be. And like Tanya said, they have a physical therapy doctorate program, which she's real serious about. And we studied occupational therapy, and she just went along with the PT route. And we were just like, hey, go ahead, go for it. So we support anything that she does, especially because of who she's having conversations with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I want to ask you all a question, because you've had experiences with the predominantly white institutions and the HBCUs. There has been much talk about Black students choosing intentionally, in particularly Black athletes, intentionally choosing HBCUs so that HBCUs become better in their sports departments. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about?
Love it, support it, and wish I could go back in time and do the same.
Tamala?
I think if I had it to do over again, I would definitely attend an HBCU.
And what about you, Andrea and Yvette?
I actually welcome it. I actually had signed a basketball scholarship early to Indiana State, a predominantly white institution, and I transferred to Tennessee State. And when I transferred to Tennessee State, I felt at home. And that's why I was so intentional about making sure that my son was exposed to different college campuses so he can make the best decision for himself. But HBCU, I just saw people like me who were taking care of business, and that's what I needed at that time. So I commend. I love the change, and I hope more of the student athletes start to look at HBCUs.
I did not attend a HBCU, and none of my children or my husband did. But at the end of the day, I totally support, more athletes going to HBCUs. I think, again, it would change the game. It would definitely, if you take the elite players, and if they start going to HBCUs, those schools get more funding. If they get more funding, it doesn't just benefit the athletes, it benefits every student on that campus. So I'm all for whatever's going to benefit our community.
And I think we're just going back to what it was, because we weren't allowed to go to predominantly white institutions. I think it's evolving. So yeah. I'm great. Like we were talking about earlier, this generation, I am so glad they are so woke, and I applaud them.
Yes.
Let's take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back on the Tammi Mack Late Show on Fox Soul.
Yes.
Welcome back to the Tammi Mack Late Show on Fox Soul, where tonight the business of being Black is mothers of athletes. And we got a father in here too. We got you, Ray. Please welcome management analyst at the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development and the mother of Emil Ekiyor, national champion offensive lineman for the Alabama Crimson Tide, Andrea Nicole Ekiyor, and licensed insurance agent at Kemper Corporation and mother of 4, Yvette Stepp, administrative accounting assistant and the mother of 3 athletes of different ages, Tamala Colquitt, and medical administration professional and the mother of a scholarship volleyball athlete at Winston-Salem State University, Tanya Gray, and her husband, Ray Gray. So Tanya and Ray, you mentioned earlier about Greyhound Group. How can we get people more involved or to utilize the services of the Greyhound Group?
So the Greyhound Group is a unique service that God inspired me to do, where first and foremost, I make it affordable for anyone to attend. And I do a combination of things, all sports. I train for all sports. But what my major focus is again, what we talked about, mental health. When we come in here, you're not just having a training session, you're able to unpack, you're able to share. While we're doing our various different workouts and trainings, we're talking about one's day, we're talking about one's life, what they're going through. So you can go to the Greyhound Group.com to find out more information, but we encompass the brain, the body, and behavior because it's impossible to train one physically without taking into account where you are mentally.
You make me want to sign up.
Hey, and I got a spot for you.
I think it's for me though. I think I'm outaged on it.
No, not at all. My mom is 77 and I still got her in there.
Love it. Love it. Okay, so there could be a spot for me. Tamala, tell us about your kids. What are your boys? What's the next step?
One of the things that we do is we talk about educational equality. We live in Auburn, and Auburn is one of the more affluent communities with a remarkable school system for the state of Alabama. But we moved from a very small town known as Lafayette, Alabama, which is not as economically advantageous as an Auburn. So we're looking to help level out the playing field of educational equality, because whether we know it or not, kids that don't have everything that they need to succeed don't always succeed. A few of them slip through the cracks and make it out, but we need to make the educational platform even across the board. So that's one of the things that Garrison and I always talk about, is that getting all kids everything that they need to succeed, because it's a situation of the haves and the have-nots.
Thank you for doing that. And we appreciate it. Moms in the Zone. Go ahead. How can we watch Moms in the Zone?
You can watch Moms in the Zone on YouTube, listen to it on Spotify, any Google podcast, Apple podcast. Go to our website, www.momsinthezone.org. We're just here to empower, educate, inspire, and help moms advocate for their student athletes. It's a movement. We want movement. We want moms to be in the conversation and be able to navigate the whole process, sports and beyond, with their student athletes.
And check out our website so you guys can purchase our book that'll give you the blueprint. And then also we have a conference that's coming up. So and it's free. So we want moms and dads to sign up to get some knowledge.
Yes. What's the website?
www.momsinthezone.org.
Thank you so much, Moms in the Zone, Tamala and the Greyhound Group, for being on the Tammi Mack Late Show tonight. And until tomorrow, everybody, it's a blessing to be in your box. Bye, y'all.
See.